Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is MTG Ghoul. Today we're going to be covering a few more of those commanders that just really just as soon as you see them just makes you want to take your cards and throw them in the trash can. Or, just pick them up, put them back in the box and move to another table. Since the last one went over so well, I figured, let's go on ahead and keep doing a few more of these. And, I like seeing the interaction on the post. I like seeing, people, describing some of their commanders they dislike seeing across the table and some of their own decks that they dislike seeing, and I took some of those comments from that last video and I added them to this video to so if one of you guys sees that you have influenced this video, let me know down in the comments below. And if you have a commander you dislike seeing a lot of, or you see a lot and you just don't like seeing it, whether it be on Brawl, in paper, MTGO, leave them down in the comments below and I'll throw them in the next video. But let's go on ahead and get started off with, let's see if I can find the commenter's name. Let's see. We're going comment section. Let's see. Let's see. All right, so for the first one, we have okay, go back one. We have at Joe Jushak F with Maronar, and he had like two that he wanted to include. But whenever you see a Maronar hit the battlefield, it is just the rats have just been let loose, and you're either going to get swarmed or they're just going to sit there and kind of just lightly just do nothing. But that's not all the rats can do. A lot of the time, most of the time when you see a Maronar deck, it's really thematic with the rat tribe. And, before we keep going, let's go on ahead and read what Maronar does. Maronar is a 3 and 2 black, 2/3 legendary creature rat rogue, which is a very strange combination, rat rogue, which is not very strange anymore. And in the text box it says all rats have fear. Now, if you don't know what fear is they cannot be blocked except by creatures that are black and artifact creatures, if I remember correctly. If I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments below. But he also says you can tap, sacrifice a rat, put X 1/1 black rat creature tokens into play, where X is the number of rats you control. Well, let's see if you have enough rats and you sacrifice a rat and you get enough more rats, which can just be a whole bucket of shenanigans you just don't want to deal with. But like I said, this is a great thematic deck. This is a very tribal centric deck if you ever see it out in the wild. Yes, it is going to overrun, and it might just be the arch enemy of the table for a minute until you can like do a -1 board wipe. But all in all, there are some rat decks that play a lot of lords, and we have been getting a lot of lords for this particular tribe recently. So I feel like this is a very hard fought victory if you get a Maronar out and you're able to swing in for the victory. Moving on to another commenter's, let's see, where is it at? What was his name? And I do like, saying people who commented on the video and what they, let's see. Up, next one up. Nope. Where is his at? It was in the multiple replies. Oh, here it is. Joshua GT7PZ threw out Kennen Bonder Prodigy for a blue and a green. This is a 2/2 legendary creature, human druid. Whenever you tap a non-land permanent, or should say non-land basalt monolith, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. So essentially, this is just your generic combo CEDH commander that just wanted to act different, quote unquote. And the ability is for 5, a green and a blue. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a non-human creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is actually a very common place card for commander for CEDH. And if anybody's got a CEDH deck that uses Kennen, kudos to you, because you are really just digging so hard whenever you play Kennen. And that's probably one of the best parts about playing Kennen, is that it's so versatile, and the creatures that you run are your own toolbox. You're doing so much. This is a super versatile commander. You could literally go any type of blue green tribal and just run with it. Like, I know serpents are probably a good one. Snakes, merfolk is actually technically a non-human tribe. So I mean, this is definitely leads into all the different tribes that you could play. It plays into good stuff, and it's a very well-rounded commander. But if you're playing in a higher power, then get ready, because this is about to be the toolbox from hell. And then we have, from the last one, Josh Jushak F, who also mentioned slivers, which I do have a good friend of mine that is been lovingly nicknamed Old Cousin Sliver, because that was his namesake deck, and that was the one that he played, and he still plays. He still has it together. He's been upgrading it consistently, and there is I do believe I do have his deck on the channel if you want to look at that. But slivers are just so synonymous with the bug infection from hell, the bed bug infection from hell, and it's just like, as soon as you see one, if you don't take care of enough of them, they just keep coming back. And that is pretty much true, because they are, oh goodness gracious, eventually once you get them to the point to where they're indestructible, that's when it starts becoming a real pain. But all in all, slivers are probably one of the hardest to build and play, because they're so synonymous with being difficult to play against, they're so synergistic just amongst themselves. And I've actually seen a player use the first sliver just for changelings and different I've seen one actually just use it for the colors and build a completely different deck around it, and they have to explain why they chose the first sliver. But I mean, it's a 5 mana 7/7 with Cascade, if nothing else, and that's actually not that bad if you got a good, a deck built good around it. And here we get into more of my personal picks. Starting off with Nekusar the Mindrazor. For 2, a blue, a black, and a red. This is a 2/4 legendary creature zombie wizard. And I really hate putting a zombie on here, but there are just some there are some in my tribe that are just not meant to see the light of day. And Nekusar is one of those. If you do not like holding on to your cards, and you like seeing, if you build a deck with the theme of, I paid for 100 magic cards, I'm going to touch 100 magic cards, the whole table is in trouble. Because at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. That's amazing. But whenever an opponent draws a card, he deals 1 damage to that player. This just is one of the weirdest wheel dot deck builds most of the time. And then you have some of those decks that just really come out of nowhere when it's just literally zombie tribal. And this is an amazing piece for zombie tribal. This is amazing commander because it has all the zombie colors. Yeah, we do have white and very few green zombies, but this is a great commander, because he just looks like an undead general. And there are effects other than just wailing that can help get you to the win with Nekusar, like Phyresis or any other effect that, takes damage and makes it into poison. But all in all, Nekusar is a if you're playing it as a wheel deck, it is one to be most afraid of. Because yeah, you're gonna get to play those cards, but you might not see them the next go around. So this really just is one of those commanders that accelerates a game state. Because, you're getting to draw an extra card. The life loss is important later on down the line because, sometimes it's just one life that keeps you alive. And this could be one of those arch enemy decks. I don't know why I mess up that word a lot. Arc enemy. I don't know why I say arc. Like, there's an H there, Chris. There is an H there. But anyways, moving on. We have Bruvok the Grandiloquent. For 2 and a blue, this is a 1/4 legendary creature human advisor. And this says, dump your deck in the graveyard. But no, for real. It says, if an opponent would mill 1 or more cards, they mill twice that many cards instead. And if they have to mill half their library the first go around, they're going to mill the rest of it later. So, Bruvok is one of those hit or miss type deals. Like if you're playing the thematic advisor tribal with the persistent petitioners and you're really just doing your best to try and make that win attempt, good on you. Have fun, because mill is a lot harder than that. And I really do enjoy a good mill deck. I've built a couple when it comes to like paper cards. I tried to build one for standard and it's not working out right now, because everything's kind of resistant to mill and it's not fast enough. But mill is one of those aspects of the game where you quite literally lose your mind whenever you have to mill half your library. And this is such a unique way to step into the commander ring and try and, hey, you want to play your cards, but they're going to be a lot better in the graveyard kind of deal. And, I can respect anybody that builds a Bruvok deck and, tries to mill the table out. Oh, man, Bruvok is one of those. He is literally the grandiloquent. Because once you see him, you're not going to see your library anymore. And I love the flavor text. And it says, and furthermore, wild. Then we come to Lord Xander the Collector. And I want to make sure I got all these. Okay. Lord Xander the Collector. For 4, a blue, a black, and a red. Man, this is like the second Grixis commander I've looked at this one. Wow. He is a 6/6 for 7, which is completely out of whack. He is a legendary creature, vampire demon noble. Whenever it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand, rounded down. Oh, you like your cards? They kind of like Bruvok. They look better in the graveyard. Whenever he attacks, defending player mills half their library, rounded down. Second verse, same as the first. And whenever he dies, target opponent sacrifices half the non-land permanents they control or rounded down. This kind of commander lends itself to the undying type effects where it's consistently sacrificing. It's one of those commanders where you definitely know that there's a black player behind all of those other colors, because they are consistently just sacrificing this little guy over and over again to just make it a living nightmare to play against it. But I will say this is a very interesting commander when it comes to trying to figure out the best way to brew around him. I prefer the other arts, but, building in a different manner when it comes to, like, taking advantage of his abilities. Like, you're playing in 3 colors that are known for majorly for his first 2 types. We got blue, black, and red for demons. I mean, that's a demon tribal deck if I ever seen it. Vampires are more the black and red variety. There may be some blue vampires. I don't know. I haven't looked. But, I mean, this could lend itself to multiple different great tribal, maybe. But I mean, even if you're going for the generic, kill it, because killing its, taking itself out back and forth and bringing it back can be a very interesting aspect to bring to a game. And sometimes the games just need to end with everybody's libraries upside down. Moving on next to one of my least favorite goblins, Kiki-Jiki Mirror Breaker for 2 and 3 red. This is a 2/2 legendary creature, Goblin Shaman. He has haste, and you can tap him and create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control. Or this could also just say Zealous Conscripts. That token has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step if you see it. So this is probably one of those commanders that could go either way when you see it. This could be your buddy's strongest goblin deck, or it could be your buddy's combo deck. And when you see Kiki-Jiki, whether he's in the command zone or he's in the 99, he is up to some tomfoolery, some straight shenanigans. And I'm always down for some shenanigans. Especially, red is one of the better colors for just spontaneous tokens. I know blue does like hard tokens, but red is like, bam, there it is. And, game's got to end eventually. And this is a great, if you can finally get that combo off and pull it off to the side for a couple days or a couple weeks or a couple months. Sometimes the deck just needs to breathe. And, Kiki-Jiki can lend itself to a number of great strategies in the command zone, not just, in the 99. So if you're one of those Kiki-Jiki players, more power to you. And then we have Koma, Cosmos Serpent for 3, 2 green, and 2 blue. And if you ask me, it's not enough. It's a 6/6 legendary creature, Serpent, which is now a snake. I think he's a snake now. I remember some kind of video, somebody said something about a Cosmos Serpent. I don't know. But this spell can't be countered. So hold your counter spells, because it's going to hit the board. Unless you, kind of bounce it back to their hand, and that's just as bad. At the beginning of each upkeep, that is probably one of the most infuriating parts of this card for me. Each upkeep, they create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Koma's Coil. Each. And then if they're playing with, like, doubling season and anything that doubles the amount of tokens they get more. But the fun doesn't end there on this card. You can sacrifice another serpent, choose one, tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. Oh, I'm going to tap your Planeswalker. Technically, it's a permanent, so you can't take it down, take it up, or nothing. Mana Rock? Nope, it's dead. Anything that's important or pivotal to a strategy? Nah, see you later. And then the second ability says it gains indestructible. It gains unboard wipeable. So yes, you may be able to get rid of all the rest of the coils, but it's still around. And the only other good part is, once they get rid of the coils, they're eventually kind of dead in the water if they cannot make it to the next turn. But, this could probably one of those good serpent commanders. And because we just recently had a lot of erratas for the serpent tribal, this just gets a little bit better. And, I can imagine seeing a few more Koma decks coming out of the wild and, seeing a little bit more play. This lends itself, like I said, heavily into the token strategy. If you can, what is it called? Getting Maskwood Nexus out and then make all of your creature serpents so they all become, oh my goodness, this would be so good with a Maskwood Nexus. This could lend itself to so many busted and broken, strategies. Like, you get the Maskwood Nexus out, you play Koma, and you have like a Solemn Simulacrum. Just chunk him into the just chunk him into Koma and get that card draw whenever you want it. That's pretty wild. I feel like this could do a lot of crazy things when, enabled for the tribal aspect of it. I see this more built around control, which, for, as much as you got a ramp to just to be able to play Coma, this can get, kind of wild. So, every good has a bad. You might see one good, crazy little list from Coma every 100 games. But, just appreciate what it is. And, every deck has a good and a bad side. And now we're probably going to move on to one of the most beautiful commanders in this roll up on this one. This is Atraxa's Praetor's Voice. And I remember in one of the comments on my last video, they were commenting, how could I do Avacyn and Avacyn dirty, but I don't know. Something about Atraxa. For a green, a white, a blue, and a black, this is a 4/4 legendary creature, Angel Horror. Because for some reason they didn't want to give her Phyrexian for some reason. She has Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, Lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, you proliferate. 9 times out of 10, you're going to probably see a Planeswalker deck. I'd say 9 times out of 10, but that's more like 5 out of 10. The other 5, you're probably going to see a poison deck. And if you're not, you're going to see a big Stompy Creatures deck, like 0.0001% of the time. But all in all, most of the time, whenever you see an Atraxa deck, you already know the kind of weird shenanigans that person that brought it is going to be up to. And you can't always judge a book by its cover, because sometimes they do. Atraxa lends herself to a lot of unique play styles, because this is a 4-color Angel Horror, and we do have 4-color angels now, because we got black angels from Kaldheim, and they've been just sprinkling in angels in blue, white, and green here a lot lately. So I mean, let the person have a try, but if they start getting too out of hand and they play Giada, then her, that's when it's probably about to start going downhill, and you probably need to stop them. So, Atraxa, it's pretty good. It's one of those unique build commanders you can throw around a little bit. And then probably last but not least, we have Chulane, or Hullen, depending on your tongue, how you want to pronounce it, Teller of Tales. For 2, a blue, a white, and a green. This is a 2/4 legendary creature, human druid with vigilance. When you cast a creature spell, it's not once a turn. Draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. There's a clause in this one missing that I feel like they didn't really just start putting on cards until, after this one was, in the wild, that should have said once per turn. And, the second ability is useful sometimes, especially if they want to save a creature, or he wants to save himself from a board wipe or something, which is still pretty neat. But I see a lot of so many different degenerate decks built around him and all of his little bounce creatures. In this does work. I will say this is one of those strong, hardy commanders that if you leave it alone long enough, it will take over the game, and it will make you regret not slotting in more board wipes into your deck. And sometimes you just gotta. This is one of those commanders that is so newbie friendly. If you want to build a deck for a newer player, I'm not saying build an amazing deck. Build, like a basic stompy deck. And Chulane is just going to. I feel like Chulane could be one of those amazing entry point commanders, because it's so. Okay, you play a dude, you get to draw the card, and then you get to put a land. This is one of those commanders where if you're sitting beside that player that's a new player, you get to help them roll through these different effects, and you get to show them the magic of playing MTG, in my opinion. And I feel like this could be one of those amazing commanders. But that's going to be it for today, everybody. Let me know down in the comments below which commanders you dislike seeing, or which you have built and dislike, uh, or not dislike, but that you get some salt from for playing. And that's gonna be it. If this keeps, if this is a very popular little series, I'll definitely be up for keeping it going, and we can just keep talking about commanders. But that's gonna be it for today, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time in the graveyard.